Tonight we're driving the 2023 BMW XM. I've spent the last few days in this car. We're going to walk you around it real quick, show you what it looks like inside and out, and we're going to do a POV night drive tonight, show you what this looks like in the dark. The interior is pretty stunning. The exterior is up to interpretation. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so we'll leave it at that. This is definitely an interesting looking SUV, about the same size as the X5. It costs $160,000. It has a 25.7 kilowatt hour battery pack and a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. So it'll do about 30 miles on a full electric charge, and it's got 644 combined horsepower from the electric motor and the gasoline engine. So it's pretty fast. We have a very nicely appointed interior in here. Lots of leather, lots of carbon fiber, lots of Alcantara, and a whole lot of ambient lighting. Just look at that. No sunroof. You get this piece on top, which is fully Alcantara and beautifully lit. You can even see it in the middle of the daytime like this. It's pretty cool. Lots of screens in here. Of course, we have BMW's latest version of iDrive 8. Ignore the check engine light. I was having a charging issue with my at-home charger earlier this week, and it caused a kind of a voltage error and caused a check engine light. So I'll clear that later today when I get back to the shop in Ipsy. But otherwise, let's look at this interior real quick. Nice looking steering wheel, very similar to what we see in a lot of other M products, and lots of carbon fiber down here. I love this matte finish. It is absolutely beautiful. This is a really special looking interior. This leather, brown leather, looks very cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of an F-150 King Ranch edition leather, but I think it works very well on this XM. This is really an interior to behold, especially with this lit up, illuminated, and backlit. A lot of BMW switchgear that we've seen before, nothing too different there, but just with that extra attention to detail. I think the interior here is really high quality, really top notch. We'll talk about iDrive 8 a little bit more, but we won't spend too much time on it since we've discussed it in a lot of other videos. For the most part, this iDrive 8 system is good. It's a little bit faster, a little bit more responsive, better organized, I think, than previous generations. You get wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and that seems to work flawlessly this week. So no complaints there. There are a few things in here that you would think would be a physical control, but instead are hidden in the infotainment. Take, for example, if you want to change your following distance with adaptive cruise control. So to change that, you have to go into this menu for, let's see, driving settings. And if you've used that recently, you just go to your quick access controls at this top menu, and it's right there. Okay, so here's 1 press, driver assistance 2, driving 3, distance control 4, and then you can select your preferred distance. 5 inputs, and then back to wherever you were before. Home. 6 inputs at least to change your following distance. And by that time, you've probably crashed into the person in front of you. So you can do that on the move. BMW will actually let you do that, but gosh, what a mess. So stuff like that's pretty frustrating. Other things are really well integrated into this iDrive 8. We won't dwell too much on it, but for the most part, you get a lot of physical controls in this BMW XM. Let's go over a few of those. You've got traction control off, your camera button, parking sensors on and off. You've got your setup menu here for your drive mode, so you can customize M1 and M2. You've got an M hybrid selector here, which you can choose between hybrid, electric, and e-control, which will maintain your battery charge. Electric is electric driving only, which is pretty cool. This thing's got a decent amount of power in EV mode. And then you even get a physical dimmer switch over here to the left for night driving, so you can control your display brightness, which is very nice. Of course, lots of different adjustments for ambient lighting in here. We're gonna just kind of leave this on purple tonight. I think this looks the best. Center console, plenty of storage in there, USB-C port. Let's walk you around the exterior of this a little bit. Of course, every time you open the door, it turns off. This has the Bowers & Wilkins premium audio system. That's a little bit extra. So this is probably, I don't have a Monroney on this XM, so I don't know the exact price, but it's probably around $165,000, maybe a little bit closer to $170,000. This comes standard with 23-inch wheels. These are the 22s. Let's check out the back here. This is only a 2-row SUV, and this kind of sums up the XM for me here. Very fancy, very svelte charging bag for your charge cable that usually would go in here, and pretty high loading floor. Neat little design touch there. Cargo cover, and a decent amount of room in the back of this XM. 2 buttons, one to lower the tailgate, one to lock the vehicle. You've got these vertical exhaust tips. We'll have to see if we can get it to turn on, leave it in sport mode or something, and listen to the exhaust because it's pretty gnarly. Taillights look interesting. Headlights are pretty sharp too. You've got illuminated door handles. Here's your charge port right here. Nice quick access to that. This will charge from 0 to 100% in about 3 hours. I think it's about 7.2 kilowatts, which is pretty impressive if you've got a nice level 2 at-home charger. Massive front nostrils from this big kidney grille. I like the headlights, those are kind of cool. This thing is just a bit bulbous, a bit overstyled in my opinion, but honestly, in person, it's got some presence. It looks kind of cool. Let's check out the back seat. Got a great place to store your luxurious pillows. Pretty much a standard feature in any car, around $160,000, $170,000 these days. Seats look kind of similar to the BMW iX back here. Really soft, really plush. Again, BMW has not skimped on materials. Tons of legroom, tons of space to stretch out in the back of this XM here. Very comfortable in the back seat and lots of headroom too. Pretty cool interior space. All right, I think it's about time we get this out on the road and start to drive it. Let's fire this engine up real quick. We're gonna put this in M1. And it does not want to start up with the door open. There we go. Kind of a weird sounding V8. This sounds digitally augmented. You've got an exhaust mode button right there. You can turn that on. Pretty gnarly pops and burbles with the valve open. All right, let's take this out for a drive. So let's start with the positives first, because I have some pretty serious complaints about the way this thing drives. This XM is freaking fast. It is so quick. There's a lot of performance here. And I'm a little bit torn on what to think about this car because it is so expensive. And the driving experience just, I don't know how much it delivers over a BMW X5M, for example, or as a plug-in hybrid, the BMW X5 plug-in hybrid. So I'm really conflicted on what to think about this XM. There are some things that are really annoying when driving this car. I guess we're not really going to start with the positive. We're going to start with my biggest complaints. This is a really difficult car to drive smoothly, especially at lower speed, especially in the city. There's a delay with the throttle that lasts about a second off the line, so you put your foot down, and then there's a massive lurch. So not only is there throttle delay, but it's almost impossible to get a smooth start out of this. If you have passengers in this car, their heads are just going to be getting knocked around left and right. Brakes are really touchy. That's not as bad as the throttle response and the throttle tuning. But the other problem is, as you will hear once we get going, this car has about the boomiest noise over bumps that I've ever heard. I don't know if it's these tires, if it's the bushings, if it's just kind of the chassis mounts in this car, but it is unacceptably loud over bumps. I drove my buddy's Dodge Viper a few weeks ago, it sounds like that over bumps. And this is a $160,000 luxury car. It's completely unacceptable for how boomy and how much, it sounds like there's a subwoofer going off over every single bump that you hit in this XM. Let's set off here. In full electric mode right there. The transitions are sometimes smooth between electric and gasoline power, and sometimes they're a little bit rough. It's kind of unpredictable. What isn't unpredictable is the performance of this XM. It is so fast, so capable. This might be the best handling BMW SUV that I've driven. I haven't driven an X5M recently, but this has got to be on par and pretty close to that. Maybe a little bit heftier, a little bit heavier feeling, but this is really, really impressive. Handles better than the X7, handles better than the X3M in my opinion. There is just a ton of performance here. You've got your M1, M2 buttons. I have M1 set to Sport drivetrain, max energy recovery, max regen. You get just a little bit of decel off throttle in max regen mode, and then you can tune your brake pedal to sport or comfort. Even comfort, again, like I said, is a bit touchy at stoplights. On the highway, when you're just cruising, it's pretty quiet until you go over some bumps or rougher pavement. M2 mode unleashes the full insanity. So that puts us in Sport Plus, minimum energy recovery. Let's change that. Four-wheel drive Sport. This also has a four-wheel drive sand mode. Don't know what this guy is doing here. Suspension is pretty comfortable in comfort mode. You put it into Sport and it gets a little bit stiffer. But again, look at the handling of this. Absolutely nuts. It's so flat. And it's fast. Paddle shifters, same as what you get on the M3, M4. Little pops and burbles between shifts. It's really, really good to drive fast and to hustle in a spirited manner, but once you start to drive this like a regular car and want to kind of sit down and relax, you can't. So this XM is always on. It's always kind of harsh and a little bit unrefined. And M cars have a little bit of that. The X3M, the X4M, the X5M, they're all a bit rough around the edges, but they're fun to drive. And this has that, but it lacks some of the refinement that those cars have for some reason. The tuning decisions that were made here, I don't know what BMW was thinking with some of the calibration here. It just, and especially at $160,000, it's not an enjoyable car to live with on a daily basis. We're back into full EV mode. Brake pedal feels pretty good at speed, actually. Nice level of firmness, easy to modulate. Just again, when you get to a stop, it can be a little bit sensitive. That was a nice smooth transition from electric to gasoline. Let's drive around a little bit in full electric mode. So we'll hit our M hybrid button, select electric, and this is pure electric driving right now. Our gauge cluster changes. Lots of different screens. We can see tire pressure, temperatures, weather, a live view of what's going on with the car. All right, that was a pretty smooth start. Minimal lurch. Even in electric mode though, there's this delay from when you put your foot down on the accelerator and it lurches off. It's really frustrating. It is very difficult to drive smoothly. There it is again. I'm barely pressing the throttle and it's just way too sensitive at low speeds. You do kind of feel shifts in this XM in electric mode, but it's very subtle. You really have to kind of be looking for it. There's just a tiny pause, a tiny break in power delivery. That's full throttle in electric mode, so pretty decent amount of acceleration there. You could drive this in full EV, no problem on a daily basis. Get up to speed on the highway. It does a great job giving you enough power to get around in this. And if you ever want to push through the kickdown switch in full electric mode, you can, and everything will take about a second or two to fire up. And that'll also put you back into hybrid mode. Ambient lighting in here is pretty neat. This is a kind of a bright cabin at night, though you can adjust that as much as you want. You can lower this ambient lighting, you can turn it off, change the color. But I figured for our purposes tonight with this POV night drive, we leave it on. We've got some interesting sounds coming from this car. It's a combination of twin turbo V8 and Hans Zimmer noises that we get out of an electric BMW. Let's do a quick sound system test. We've got this Bowers & Wilkins. Should be a pretty impressive sound system. We've got a volume knob down here, which is great. Bowers & Wilkins sounds fantastic. No complaints there. Alright, I think let's throw this in M2 mode real quick. And we'll do a quick launch control. It's quick. Like any M car, it gets off the line really fast. All right, so how can we sum up the BMW XM? I've got to say, BMW needs to finesse this car just a little bit more. More development is needed. Vehicles like the X5 plug-in hybrid, I mean, that's maybe one of my favorite BMWs that I've ever driven. It was so nice to live with. It was so good. It was so good at driving fast and having this split personality between comfortable, luxurious daily driver, smooth powertrain, and also being fun and enjoyable with a B58 turbo inline 6. And this takes a lot of that refinement and just kind of throws it out with the driving experience. Yes, you get this amazing interior and all of these great materials, but the price tag on this XM is so insane that I can't forgive some of these things that happen with the driving experience for what this thing costs, or even at really any price, because BMW makes vehicles that are better to live with on a daily basis that still have this similar level of performance. And I get it. You know, this is new. It's a different design. I think some people are going to think this looks pretty cool. It's grown on me this week. I don't think it's as bad in person as I thought it would be in photos. It's kind of got an angry bird, angry pig look to it up front, but I mean, it's got road presence. You pull up in this thing and people kind of give you the WTF look. So I'll let you guys be the judge of the appearance on this. Delay, lurch, off the line. I gave it about that much throttle. Steering's quick. I'm not sure if this has four-wheel steer or not. It might. If it does, it's kind of subtle. Again, we did not get a Monroney on this XM, so I don't know exact specs. Headlight performance at night. This is a pretty cool car to drive. BMW is doing a great job with their interiors, their ambient lighting these days. But I feel like if you want an electric car, go get an iX. It's just as ugly as this XM. It drives so much better. It has about 95% of the performance, and it's a fantastic electric vehicle. It's one of my favorite EVs to drive ever. It's just awesome. And for the price, for about $100 grand, I think it's a bargain. If you want a plug-in hybrid, get an X5 plug-in hybrid. Again, one of the best plug-in hybrids I've ever driven. If you want an M car, a performance car, go get an X5M. It has a lot of the hardcore nature of this XM without the hefty price tag and without the tuning issues with throttle and just the roughness and the lurchiness of this driving experience. And I still think the X5M doesn't have this boominess over bumps. So those are my recommendations. Take them for what you will, but I think we'll end the video there and leave it at that. So anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. We'll walk you around this one more time, and that'll be a wrap.